So it is the first Sunday of 2026. Is anybody excited for 2026? Yes, maybe, no. Uh, my hope is that, like most things, there's threads of optimism and threads of hope. And so when I think about 2026, for myself personally, I'm not super optimistic that it's going to be a great year. I think it may be a difficult year, but I am optimistic and even excited for 2026 for this community, for FUMCO. Because I feel like more than ever, the world needs the bold love that we have to offer, our witness, our allyship, and our presence in the world as a community. Today, I really want to talk about community. Often on the first Sunday, we talk about the Wesleyan covenant prayer, and we've talked last Sunday about the model of growing spiritually. Does anyone remember that from last week? AI, okay, easy to remember, easy to forget too. But awareness and intention are the two things that help us grow. But if awareness and intention help us grow, community is the context that undergirds our growth and gives us strength for the year. And so we're starting this year off before we hit our sermon series next week, talking about community that undergirds our faith and our growth, that undergirds the covenant that we make as a people, and that enables us to live out the life that we truly hope for. So I would like to do a straw poll, so get your hands ready. You're going to have to raise your hand if you participate. If your community that you have is really strong and going great, thumbs up. Otherwise, do finger sideways if it's okay, and down if it's like, not so great. On the count of three, 1, 2, 3. Okay, all right. We have a mixed bag, and that's great. If your community is not going that great, by the way, do you like my slide that I made? Just so you could know like how to do it. And thank you to Chris for getting our slides going here. By the way, can we say thank you to Chris and Nigel for all they do to make our tech work? Our tech totally outweighs and outpunches the size and type of church we have. It's really amazing. And I hope it's working for those of you who are online at one of these cameras, many cameras. So we have different levels of community and different satisfactions with that community. My hope today is that by thinking about how we can reframe our concepts of community, we can learn from the scriptures ways to grow our community, whether it's going great, or that we've maybe even lost hope on it a little bit, or whether it's kind of just chugging along at the okay level. So I wanted to share with you a few measurable aspects of community. Did you know that people with community live longer than people without community? You've probably heard that stat, right? It's equivalent to exercising and quitting smoking. And people who don't have community have the same risk factor as people who are obese, which is a good news for me because I've gained a few pounds over the holidays. So if I can just get some extra friends, I maybe don't have to lose weight as much. No, just kidding. Don't listen to that. That's not true. Okay, so community strengthens our body. It lowers anxiety and depression, not that we don't get it, but that we can mitigate it better. Community protects our mind, and community helps sustain successful habits. Community can also economically benefit neighborhoods. Community can lower crime. Community, it's almost like we were designed for it. It's almost like someone planned that we should have community, right? There's so many benefits, psychological health, community, economic. Community is an amazing thing. And the word community comes from these two ideas, com and immunus. Com is together with, and munus actually means service or duty. And so if you want to skip ahead to that slide, I've got that laid out there. Oh, here it goes. One after that. There it is. So that's where the word community comes from. Not just that we're, I would have thought community meant like we're just together, but it means that we're working together, looking out for each other's best interests. And so I want to, on the next slide, take a look at the passage that Ula read for us this morning. This is in Acts chapter 2 at the beginning of the church. And here's what they're doing. They're devoting themselves to the apostles' teaching, not just to understanding it, but to living it out. And what does it mean to live out the apostles' teaching? That they devote themselves to fellowship. That's, as you know, the fancy sort of nebulous word that means community, that means spiritual community. They devoted themselves to that, so much so that they were meeting together daily. They were meeting in each other's homes. They weren't only breaking bread for communion, but those communion meals were fellowship meals. They happened in each other's homes on a regular, even daily basis. They were even not entirely capitalist. I don't want to upset anybody today. But they sold their possessions and they gave freely to each other. They became a true community. And I want to share with you the main idea of my message this morning is what I think they were doing here. What I think they were doing here is reframing community. It's not like they'd never had community before this, but this is different community being reframed by the teachings of the apostles, by the teachings of Jesus. You know how Jesus always used to say, "You have heard it said, but I say to you," or unto you, if you have the older version. But Jesus was reframing. His whole mission on earth was to reframe our relationship with each other and with God. Jesus was reframing. He said, "You've heard it said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy, but what? I say to you, love your enemy and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your Father in heaven." Jesus was reframing what it meant to be a Samaritan, what it meant to be a woman, what it meant to be a man. And later, on the teachings of Paul, as the church continued to grow, teachings would emerge which would say, it doesn't matter because there is neither male nor female, neither slave nor free. That was huge, huge reframing of what community meant, right? There's neither rich nor poor, there's neither male nor female, slave nor free, Greek nor Jew. The whole idea of being a follower of God up until this point was predicated on your ethnicity as a Jew. And now they were Gentiles and slaves and people of different races and orientations and all kinds of differences coming together because why? They reframed what they thought it meant to have community based on Jesus' teachings. By the way, do you like the reframe? Do you notice that there's a frame on that? A few years ago when I was in my 30s, so not very long ago, I was talking to my therapist and I was saying, I thought friendship would look different when I was in my 30s. I thought I would have this same kind of friendship that I grew up with, where the parents just get together and then all the kids are playing in the basement and everyone's just that it would be easy, that it would come naturally, that my community would look just like me. I mean, I didn't really think that out loud until I started to say it, and she invited me to reframe community for myself. She said, well, what about your friend Carol, who's in her 70s and is a retired art teacher, and you hang out with her all the time? And I was like, oh, yeah, but that's Carol, you know. She's like, well, what about your friend Jen, who's your same age, but she's a girl. Where are my guy friends? And it's like, well, you have some guy friends. I'm like, okay, and I started to kind of reframe my community. I think that there's ways that we can reframe who our community is. Because as a church, we're not here just because we're all the same. In fact, it's kind of the opposite. We're here because we're all different. We all have something unique to offer. And so when we let community and the teachings of Jesus be reframed, and the teachings of Jesus reframe our ideas of community, who we connect with starts to change. And also, how we connect with them starts to change. I have some friends, they're not in this church, and they really struggle from time to time with some heavy stuff. There's substance abuse, there's mental health issues, there's marital concerns, and I started feeling that my friendship, not just that it was one-sided, but honestly I just felt like that they weren't listening to me. Because they would say things like, I could really use your advice right now, and I was like, okay, here we go. and they were like, could you give me your perspective on this? Or like, we're having this really hard time, can you help us out? And they were good friends, and so I wanted to help them out. And so I, again, said to my therapist, I was like, they are not listening to me. And she said, well, what if you listen to them? Like, what if that's really all that it is? Maybe they're saying we want your advice. They're saying that but what if they just need a listening ear? Like, even, she said to me, even people who are therapists, like, we're not always about changing each other. Sometimes we're just about supporting each other until more change becomes possible down the road. So reframing helps, like, who we hang out with and who we think of as our community. Reframing helps us with how that happens. Reframing can also help us with the why, because our community here at FUMCA is not just for us. Our community is essentially outward focused. Of course it is for us. 100% it is for us. But also 100% it is for those who are not here yet. And one of the things that I think this church does so well, because I've seen it over the last year and a half that Brittany and I have been here, is welcoming in new people. I'm just curious, if you have come to this church within the last 2 years, could you raise your hand? Look around. Isn't that exciting and really amazing? And so we are going to have more people that come and are part of this community. And my sense is that we really go out of our way to welcome and to think about the why of community, like what community is for. And our community, I think, is this really powerful thing. Last week I was sharing with you the struggle I have with sometimes being driven and wanting to make an impact. And I said, I want to put community over impact. Then I started to reframe that. And I said, what if it's community that makes the impact? What if the impact is made through our community? And I really started to think, I think that's how it's supposed to be. So I'm just kind of slow. It takes me a while. But I do think, like, as we think about our Friendsgiving, for example, someone in the neighborhood said to us, Sam, who works at a hair salon, owns a hair salon, she said to us, there's people in the queer community who are looking for community. And you have space and you have people who are accepting and allies. What if we did a queer and allies Friendsgiving? And it was amazing. It was so cool. People from the community came out to that. They may never come. Some of them were like, we're not religious. And I was like, that's amazing. That's great. Here you are in a church, and you don't have to be religious to be here. But the idea of impact happening through the community that we create is super powerful, isn't it? And I hope that impact will start to ripple out through our partnerships with other organizations and each other, so that the Northwest Corridor and this general area outside around the church starts to become more better allies, more affirming. That's one of the hopes that I have for our community, that the values that are inside of our community, the core things that keep us together, that those ripple out. And the change that we want to see happens because it's in us, in our strong community, and it can't help but find ways to express itself outward into the world. Okay, so I worked with ChatGPT to create these slides, and I said I wanted to look a little bit more Christian, so a little more religious. So this is its religion, and then I realized that was kind of like the wrong religion. This is a brain break, by the way. So I said, let's make it more Christian, and so this is what it came up with. And then I was like, right. I was like, okay, how about more hip? And I was like, I don't know. So there's like a tattoo, the backwards hat. So I don't know if anyone, I don't see any backwards hats today. But feel free if you would like to wear a backwards hat. Stuart, I think you would look good with a backwards hat. Okay, let's go back to our next slide. So kind of wrapping things up here this morning, reframing is a powerful, powerful tool. But I'm not really just suggesting that we reframe in a way to like sort of deny reality. I'm suggesting that we reframe with the teachings of Jesus and the teachings of Scripture to have this powerful community that they had in Acts, that I believe it's possible and growing already in us as a congregation, that we reframe the who, the what, and the how of our community so that it makes us this irresistible place where friendship and love and community flow. And that means going out of our comfort zone. Who loves small talk? Some people do, it's okay. Not a lot of people. So one of the things that we have to get good at is like, and I think we are good at it, going up to people that we don't know and introducing ourselves. And sometimes we're like, shoot, have I met this person? And I know that's something that we talk about at our church a lot. But you know what? It is okay. It's okay to not be slick with it. In fact, that's way better, isn't it? It's okay just to be like, we're bumbling along, but it's in our hearts that we reintroduce ourselves, we have conversations that lead to deeper conversations, we invite people into our homes. So here is a list of things that just initially came to mind. There's lots more things, and you might even want on your bulletin insert, if one of these things interests you, to go ahead and write it down and say, I'd like more information about one of these things, and one of us will reach out to you with some more info. But the Mark Bible study is so much more than just studying Jesus' teaching in Mark, even though that is amazing and profound. It's also a chance at 11 o'clock every Sunday to go downstairs to the Wesley Room and get together and have community with some really insightful, good people, and then have a meal together afterwards, and you're out by 12:30. If you haven't visited that yet, I'd encourage you sometime to do that. If you can only make it every now and again, that's totally fine too. But that is one of the places on a Sunday morning, which is kind of our core time, that we can have fellowship and food and connection and study together. So think about that. There's also things like Sisters 2.0, our United Women of Faith circles, men's groups, 8x4s, where 8 people meet together 4 times through the year, special events like the movie night coming up. And I wanted to mention social media, which is kind of like a weird thing to mention, but social media I really see as a portal into our congregation. And so if you're watching online, you know like what a blessing it is to have technology connect you. And if you've here in the service of being out of town and never watched, you know what that is. When you share things on social media, even we get messages from Facebook. Lisa and I look at this sometimes, and they say, Facebook's like, your people are liking your stuff. We're going to show it to more people. That's literally how Facebook and the different social medias work. So I'd encourage you to think of that as an augmentation to the community that we're trying to build, a way to invite people in and bridge things. And then also, I want to note that Brittany has placed a really high priority on caring for people who have limited mobility, who can't be here. And if that's you, or you know someone, or you're watching online, and you ever want to visit, we have a lot of people throughout the week that visit with those who are homebound and extend the community. So our final vote is not really a vote, it's more just a question. Would your life benefit by putting a little bit more energy into your community? Not that you don't already put energy into it, but could you find some energy in 2026 to invest into this community, your spiritual community? And that's not going to be a yes for everyone, and that's going to be on different levels for everyone, but I really want you to take that question, think about it, and it doesn't have to be your top 3 goals or anything like that, but I just invite you to invest in this community because I really believe that it's worth it. Let's pray. God, thank you that you made us for community. You made us for each other, and it's hard, and it's difficult, and it doesn't always go how we want it to, and it's fraught, and yet it's worth it. And we grow through it, and we achieve the impact that we want into the world, that you want into the world, through our strength in numbers and quality of friendships and relationships. I pray that you would bless us with the desire to put energy into our community and to grow our faith through that and our fellowship of you through that. Help us to reframe things through your lens so we can view the beloved community as you view it. Amen.